about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. So a little less drama than we usually get with Congress. Okay, I don't like drama. I really don't. And apparently we're being told, this is some breaking news, that Chuck Schumer is backing down on fighting against the government funding bill. And originally he was saying, how we need to stop this and we need to, although in previous administrations, he was saying the Republicans are messing things up trying to not sign the funding bill. But from what we understand, Chuck Schumer has decided to back down to avert a shutdown. And people have asked, why does this keep happening? Why do we keep having these? Okay, I'm no legal expert, but from what I read, there's the Anti-Deficiency Act, which was passed back in the 1800s, where federal agencies cannot spend or obligate any money without appropriation or other approval from Congress, which makes sense. Congress, I guess, has to pass 12 annual appropriation bills. There's 12 of them, from what I'm reading from Brookings.edu. And federal agencies, if they can't get funding, will then have to cease all non-essential functions until Congress decides to fund it again. That's called a government shutdown. It doesn't mean the whole government shuts down. It doesn't mean Trump goes home. It doesn't mean we don't have to, look at Chuck Schumer anymore. No, it just means that non-essential functions of government then don't happen. And if Congress enacts some of the appropriations bills, and not all of them, then that's a partial shutdown. So federal employees, if we would have shut down, are told not to report to work. They do get paid retroactively. There was a law, I think, passed in 2019 during one of the shutdowns that they'll still get paid. So a shutdown used to be, wow, you're going all those days without pay. But then once that law started going, no, you'll still get paid. You'll get back pay. People are like, oh, well, then shut down longer. I don't have to go into work. But those who are in essential work categories like air traffic control, law enforcement, continue to work. However, they may not get paid until Congress takes action to appropriate. So that's why a few years back we had federal workers who were saying, look, I'm working, but I'm working for free. When do I get my money? So luckily this isn't happening again, but these shutdowns happen because the funding, you can't just say we're going to fund something and that's the way it's going to be for the next 20 years. Funding and budgets have to always be looked at. It seems like it's the same BS all the time. Right? One side fights with the other side. Whoever's not in the majority puts up a fight. Now, because in these spending bills, some BS gets thrown in, like we saw in previous administrations. And from what we understand, Trump doesn't want BS. He doesn't want wasteful spending, which is really exciting. I know there's a lot of people that don't like Elon Musk and Doge. I think it's flippin' brilliant. I don't like massive layoffs of good workers. If some of these individuals are good workers, I didn't like how that went down. But in terms of, no, you're not going to be, I guess, turning animals into transgender. We're not going to be funding this stuff. It's about time somebody looks at that. Now, I mean, I've seen time and time again where things get bought, whether it's new trash cans or we take down a building and we'll do more construction on a building just because we're under budget. No, that stuff stops now. And so if the Democrats don't like what the Republicans have, and I feel pretty confident that the Republicans don't have waste. It's just the Democrats might not like what the Republicans are spending money on, but we need the government to still function. The Republicans are in power. You could try to fight and go back and forth, but they're not going to budge. And also, I think why Chuck Schumer decided not to back down is the Republicans are not as undivided as they were in previous administrations, because Trump is the type of leader that is not allowing people to mess around. Now, I am of the mindset that I don't want somebody to just vote D or R. You want to vote for your constituency. You are a representative, so you need to represent what your constituents want. But if your constituents wanted Trump and wanted what he stood for, and a border that was non-porous and better schools, and then that's your job. To say, you know what? No, I'm going to do my own thing. I mean, look at what happened to Liz Cheney. Wyoming didn't want her anymore. So, that's good news. I don't really like the chaos. I don't like the drama. People are like, oh, man, when Trump gets into power, there's going to be a lot of drama. So far, no shutdown. That's kind of nice. Usually there's a lot of drama. Also, there's usually a lot of drama in terms of who's going to be the House Speaker. That was pretty easy. That was pretty lickety split. Speaker Johnson. Senator John Thune for Senate. Not really a lot. Now, it could also be the media is covering everything else that might appear to have more drama. But, I'm kind of liking things so far. Eggs, they say egg prices went down. I went to the grocery store. Eggs were still pricey. I didn't see my store lower egg prices. With Easter and Passover coming, I'm hoping eggs go down in price. But we have so many other issues that are sadly contributing to that, from what I understand, the FDA and the USDA is working on egg prices. They have a 5-pronged approach to figure out how not to have to kill all these birds, how to figure out which dairy farms are not getting affected by it, and let's replicate that in other, farms. And so we still have a lot of work to do, but that was kind of nice that we didn't have to have a shutdown. 1-877-Daliah.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell our listeners who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me join you to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now and find out how much your case is potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. If you think you deserve compensation, call now to find out how much you qualify for. 800-710-5100.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Hot Shot Secret Stiction Eliminator.
Stiction, that sticky friction, undermines the performance of diesel engines. Third-party ASTM testing verifies that Stiction Eliminator removes 2 times as much stiction than any alternative on the retail shelf. Stiction Eliminator is formulated to be left in the engine oil. It works as you drive.
Available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret. Powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. Also, if you ever miss any of our shows, you can go to our website at drdaliah.com. So there's been a lot of back and forth on what's going to happen with Medicaid. Dr. Oz, Mohammed Oz, is right now undergoing his Senate confirmation hearing. I know it's kind of taken a while, but he's supposed to be running, if confirmed, the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid, and to help guide us through the next rocky future as it pertains to government-funded health care. And, this has been concerning a lot of people. Why? Well, because a lot of people are on it. We have about 340 million Americans. About 80 million are on Medicaid. Now, Medicaid is for low-income individuals. When you do the math, that's almost 1 in 4 Americans are on Medicaid. Now, that is very concerning. Medicare is for those who are seniors, those who have disabilities, and we have millions of people on Medicare. But Medicaid are for those individuals who make less than like $16,000 a year. I guess the household income is about less than $35,000 a year. How come we have 1 in 4 Americans at 138% or below of federal poverty level? We're supposed to be the best, richest country. And here we are. And I understand during the Great Recession and during the Obamacare years, we increased through the Affordable Care Act Medicaid enrollment. And we jumped up to, I think, 72 or 73 million by 2014, 2015. And I was talking about how by 2016, I think the whole population of the UK was 73 million, where we had about 73 million people on Medicaid. And the recession was already over by 2016, but it didn't sunset. People who got on Medicaid stayed on Medicaid. And then, of course, the numbers rose during the Biden years because of people coming across the border. So here we are with almost 80 million. And that equates to 1 in 4 Americans not able to make enough money where they have to be on the government insurance. When is somebody going to look at that and figure out why? Now, one theory is you have millions of Americans who can work, who aren't disabled, because if they were, they would be on Medicare, because if you have a medical disability, you would be on Medicare. So one theory is that individuals have looked at how much they would have to make, and is it worth making that much money to lose CHIP, SNAP, Medicaid, welfare. And there was one study during the Biden administration that looked at, the average person would have to make 6 figures just to make it worth their while, depending on the state they live in, to not take the government dime. And if that is a subset of those individuals, no wonder somebody is suggesting, wait a second, okay, there has to be some proof that you tried to get a job, or that, or there has to be some, or the government could offer work, even if it's part-time. Yeah, I brought that up during the Great Recession, where I don't want people struggling only making $7 an hour minimum wage. Of course, they're in poverty level. And yes, when it comes to medical care, they will need Medicaid. That's why it's there. That's why we're paying our tax dollars for it. But if most of these individuals cannot find good paying jobs, and I don't blame them, it's not easy to find a good paying job. I understand that in California, they upped the minimum wage or at fast foods to $20 an hour, but those jobs are now fewer because these franchises can't afford to have that many employees being paid that much. So it's a mess. But when you have 1 in 4 Americans on Medicaid, that implies they're either not working or they are working at a job that is paying them less than $16,000 a year. That's not livable. When is somebody going to address this? Now, will that be Dr. Ross? Will that be RFK Jr.? Will that be Trump? So people are asking if he's going to cut Medicaid, And people are all nervous about that. And I don't know what he or anybody is planning to do, but somebody needs to figure out why 1 out of every 4 Americans is not making the salary they need to, where they are requiring government assistance. And if they're requiring Medicaid, they're also requiring housing assistance and food assistance. Why is that? Is it that there's not a lot of jobs that pay more than $16,000 a year? Is it that there are jobs, but some are choosing not to work? I mean, I know it's not an easy conversation to have, but I remember I was waiting tables in medical school, and the restaurant I was working for was having money issues. So they laid off their part-time workers. And so I'm like, well, gosh, because I was kind of helping some family members out with the money. And so one of the other waiters said, well, come with me down to the unemployment office. I'm like, I don't really want to apply for unemployment. I want that for people who really, really need it. I mean, I'm eating top ramen. I have a roommate. I think I can make things last for a couple months. And the restaurant later did hire us back within a month or two. But I was like, you know what? I'll go with you. Because he was a buddy of mine. I'm like, I might as well check it out. Now, this was in the 90s. They gave you a book. And you had to go and search for new jobs. And every place you went for a new job, that employer had to write if they were going to hire you or not and sign, so that when you wanted to go back to get your unemployment, and I never accepted an unemployment check because I never went through that process, but you had to, pavement pound, and then you had to have proof that person did not hire you. Now with LinkedIn and ZipRecruiter, everybody's getting emails that they're getting fired or they're not getting hired or they're getting turned down for jobs. So yeah, you do have some proof, but that's how it was, where you had to show you were actively applying and not actively applying to be CEO of a company. They had to be jobs that were within your purview, within your experience and expertise. And so when I looked at that, not to mention, I eventually did get hired back by the restaurant because they had money again to hire back their part-timers, or they found out that, I was a damn good waitress. So anyway, me and a few others got hired back. It wasn't worth my time. But it was work. If you're not working and you're going to get government money, you need to show, or state money, you need to, at least show you made an effort. And so that's something that has been kind of brought up again. Why aren't we, doing that as it pertains to unemployment, as it pertains to Medicaid? Why are you only making $16,000? Is it because that's all your boss is paying, and that's very easy to prove, or is it because you're not working? And if you're not working, it's interesting. I have a lot of patients that'll call in through telemedicine, and I'll ask them when they call in sick, do you need a work note? And gosh, I would probably say about 20% of them say, no, I don't work. And I'm like, oh, are you disabled? And I'm looking to see if they're on Medicare. They go, no, I don't work. Now, look, you want to stay home and raise the kids. God bless you. I think being a homemaker and raising the kids, it's fantastic. It's phenomenal. But is that what's going on? Is that realistic? Can our country afford for 1 out of every 4 Americans to need us to support them? And I'm not saying every single person on Medicaid also needs welfare and food stamps, but there's a pretty good chance that if you are anywhere near federal poverty level, you need all the assistance you could get. So then, how do we do this? Do we have Medicaid? And we're not talking Medicare, because again, Medicare are seniors and those with medical disabilities. Medicaid are people who are healthy. How do we fix the reliance and the widespread poverty. We're at 23.4. I think 23.4% of Americans are needing Medicaid. There's something wrong with that. And if some people are choosing to not work, come on. 1-877 Doc Daliah, don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
On the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So this headline caught my eye. This headline came from BBC News. It says measles cases pick up as RFK promotes unproven treatments. Okay, first of all, it's RFK Jr., but okay. And the measles cases are picking up, right, not because of RFK Jr., and I understand what they are trying to say. Well, it's happening coincidentally. But I think the media really, really wants to go after RFK Jr. And they really want to make him look like an inappropriate pick for HHS. And they want to blame some of the things that are happening on the current administration. Measles have surfaced even before this administration. We saw what happened, was it 2014 or 2015 in Disneyland, where that was an epicenter of a recent outbreak. And measles being on the rise is concerning from a public health standpoint. I don't like measles. Measles can't kill. We have a child and I think an adult who have died from measles. There are cases now across several states, including Oklahoma, Alaska, California, Georgia, Florida, New York, Kentucky, Rhode Island. Epicenter still remains in western Texas and in neighboring New Mexico. And so, RFK Jr., of course, gets to be thrown in to this headline because he hasn't been the biggest advocate of vaccines and the number of vaccines and what could possibly be in the vaccines. And as a physician, I have to balance the two because nobody's wrong. Both sides making a very important point. And in science, if you don't listen to both sides, you aren't worth jack diddly squat. You don't belong in science. You can't be political in science. You can't be, well, I just want to be one side. You can't do a study saying, I really, really want this to work. I want this study to prove that I am right. So let's tinker with this so that the outcome makes me look right. That's not true science. True science is you pose a question. Is our current vaccine for measles working? or not? Oh, I really, really hope it's working. Oh, I really, really hope it's not. Oh, I really, really, no. No hoping. Put your hands down. Here's the question. Is it working if it's not? If it's not, is it because we have a new strain? Is it because the vaccine might need to be updated? Is it that some people who were vaccinated, who got the measles, lied about getting vaccinated? What was it? Or do we need a booster? That's kind of what we do in science. I know vitamin A has been talked about. There was that study I read you how 2 doses of vitamin A BID dosing was found in one study to help, not once a day, but the double dosing, although don't do this on your own. There can be vitamin A toxicity. But there was a study showing how vitamin A helped individuals with measles. It doesn't mean that is now a treatment that we're using, but there was a study that was discussing it. And so if RFK Jr. is bringing that up, that's science. He's allowed to bring that up. And I have to be very careful with what I say because Google and YouTube has said if at all any of my, which has happened, if anything I say triggers that algorithm, I get banned from YouTube. And so the 2 drugs I want to talk about as it pertained to COVID that was brought up, one that rhymes with lectin, right? And one that rhymes with, let me see, no, not Steve McQueen, but, if I'd say Steve McQueen kind of ends in Queen. Okay, good. I got to be very careful because there's this algorithm that if I say those 2 drugs, it blocks me and it kicks off the show. So there were studies looking at why those drugs showed some efficacy in individuals who might have been exposed to the SARS-CoV-2 virus. And they looked at the acidification of the endosome, of when the cell phagocytoses and phagocyzes the or envelopes the virus into it so the virus can come into the cell, how these medications work to prevent that process. When somebody says, well, it's unproven. No, there's data there. It might not be something that America decided to use and embrace. But when people say unproven, do they mean it was disproven, where that it didn't work, or unproven, meaning it hasn't been studied? But there have been studies. And why aren't we at least looking at some of these? Look at how now we have a marijuana pharmaceutical for Dravet's, a very severe pediatric seizure disorder, because parents said they gave their kid weed. Now listen, I do not want parents giving their kids weed. Okay, that's a no-no. You don't be doing that. But these parents were at their wits' end, and they found that had minimized their kid's seizure. Well, parents who are scared to death of their kids dying, didn't John Travolta's child die in the shower of a seizure? So parents are scared. So they told each other, they're like, look, this is what helped. And finally, a pharmaceutical company has made a medication. So it did get, yes, it might have been unproven, but now it did get proven. And now we have a pharmaceutical. But that's not to say any marijuana, any strain, you need to, if you have a seizure disorder, for the love of God, please talk to a medical provider. Don't be self-treating. But when you look at what we've done in science, right? Remember the first person that said the earth isn't flat? Everybody called him RFK Jr., which to me is a compliment. So, I get that this is concerning, that we have measles on the rise. And it appears that one of these cases, the childhood death case, was in an unvaccinated child where the parents did not believe in vaccines. I know I do want numbers of how many of these individuals are also coming in from another country. that might not have been vaccinated because they were migrants or illegal immigrants or gotaways. So we do need to figure out why. And we did. In fact, Alejandro Mayorkas had said 1 in 5 migrants are sick, that they have a disease. Well, obviously we're going to have numbers rise in diseases here if there are migrants coming in to the degree that it did during the Biden administration. So that's not a surprise. But rather than people saying measles cases pick up because of Biden's bad border policies, they'd rather say measles cases pick up as RFK promotes unproven treatments. The thing is with science, it's always a study. It's always an experiment. And we always need to find new and improved ways to manage illness. And mark my words, there is going to be a time in America where they say, whoa, we need to do more with natural immunity, and we might need to scale back all the vaccines we're giving. I love vaccines. I think vaccines are amazing. They're a huge breakthrough. The fact that we don't have polio, we've eradicated polio, is amazing. But there will be a time where somebody says, wait a second, nobody's getting their immune system charged to the degree they need to, and they might be getting too many vaccines. And if that happens, we need to do the study. Let's study things, and let's look at what we have naturally to help us fight disease. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-910-7500. That's 800-910-7500. Call now to find out how much your case could be worth.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So, all eyes have been on this missing pre-med student, Sudishka Konanki, who went to Dominican Republic for spring break with her friends and did not come back to her hotel room in the early morning hours after being seen on video with her friends and with another gentleman. Well, they searched some of her electronic history, and they said that she made 2 Venmo payments the afternoon before she disappeared from this Dominican Republic beach. And it was revealed that these transactions included a new user. Venmo was interesting because you give, it could be public or private. And, when you pay somebody through Venmo, it could announce publicly, because you have to sometimes write why. I think you have to write why. So let's say you give $5 or $10 for pizza or lunch or gas. And people can see that. They can also see who you gave the money to, even if they're not your friends. It's kind of like a little social media app. And I find it a little disturbing because there's a lot of, don't you want some privacy? What you ate, the gas, who you're paying, what you paid for. Apparently it could be public. And now it can be private. But, so in her particular case, there were two transactions 40 minutes apart on the afternoon of March 5th. Her first payment was made to an unspecified user at 2:54 p.m. with an emoji of a sailboat. So, yeah, I think with Venmo, you have to put a comment as to what it's for. So if people want to be very brief or whatever, they might just put a happy face, or they might actually put what it's for. And then at 3:38 p.m., she paid a second user for Coco Bongo, which I guess had to do with the Punta Cana nightclub. And she was last seen walking on the beach with Iowa tourist. She's from Virginia. Iowa tourist Joshua Ribe, 24 years old, at the Rio Hotel and Resort in Punta Cana at 5:50 a.m. Now, I believe she went to Pennsylvania College. She stayed at the resort, and she started her spring break on March 3rd. Ribe was staying at the same resort. You saw them on surveillance. They looked like they were kind of stumbling around while taking selfies, and they looked like they were out all night with their friends. It looked like any other typical group of people. They were walking arm in arm, holding each other. But then the majority of the friend group went back to the hotel by 5:50 a.m. Ribe did not return until about 8:50 a.m. He said he and Shudishka went swimming. He got sick, crawled to the shore, threw up, and then crashed on one of the chairs that were on the beach. But where was she? She's only 20 years old. So her father filed a report with his hometown Loudoun County Sheriff's Office in Virginia. And the resort said they lost power at 1:27 a.m., which could explain why she was on the beach in the middle of the night. The blackout was resolved until early morning. Sadly, no security systems or cameras were on. Now, this makes people very, very concerned because Dominican Republic is a huge, huge place for people to go as it pertains to spring break. And now there's a lot of warnings out, to urge people to be careful if they're going to be out and about, because we don't know if this was her getting abducted, her getting trafficked, or her meeting somebody who pretended to be from another, from, I don't know, a local college or whatever, and killed her. Or it could be she drowned. But you would think if she did, she would have washed up on shore somewhere. And now it's been over a week. Now, some new information from CNN says there's a video showing additional people on the beach when the U.S. student went missing. They said new information has revealed that other people were on the beach when Shudiksha Konanki went missing. And the video evidence points to additional people being there beyond the young man who said he was with her, but then got sick and fell asleep. Now, the man she was with, Mr. Ribe, has not been detained or arrested. He is a person of interest. From what I understand, I think he's still there to answer questions, but he's not necessarily detained. But apparently there were other people around the beach early that day on March 6th. So did she encounter other individuals? Now, this Venmo transaction to an unknown person, they might be a suspect. Was there somebody she met who later followed her? Was it just a simple, innocent interaction? But when you have something that's highly populated, and I've been there, I've been to Dominican Republic. You think, where there's a lot of spring breakers, it's going to be fairly safe because, there's a bunch of people, especially people from your city, from your school, from other colleges. It's college kids. If you could survive a frat party on campus, you could survive a beach party with a bunch of college students. But we're forgetting it's in another country, and bad criminal elements look at spring break as a huge opportunity for them to rob, for them to abduct, traffic, and you're in another country. So you don't have the same protections. Now, America has been very involved. We've sent, I guess, FBI agents and investigative teams. I guess the ambassador to the Dominican Republic. But I'm sure all hands have been on deck. But it's not a good situation when you have people who are going to be drinking, partying. The concept of spring break is to party, to let loose. I never went away for spring break. One is I couldn't afford to. Spring break meant rather than working part-time, I could work full-time. So when spring break was coming, I was excited because I could then make more money to pay my rent and food. I did not have any money, let alone time, to go to another area. I wish I would have enjoyed a little bit more of my college years, but I worked. I had to work. I had to support myself. My scholarship only handled my academics. I still had to support myself. I still had to pay for my car with no air conditioning. I still had to figure out what I was going to do so I could move to medical school if I got accepted. So I never did the whole spring break thing, not in high school, not in college. And I'm glad I didn't. Because, drinking, and I don't want to sound like a party pooper, and I don't want to sound like someone middle-aged, but getting drunk is overrated. Hooking up with random men, not my thing. Getting an STD, no. I don't see how that's fun. And yes, I get, studies are hard and you want to let loose. It just really, I'm looking at college. It's not that hard for these kids. Yeah, I was a pre-med student. That was difficult. But you think I'm going to lose a whole week of studying to kill my brain cells with alcohol? I know I don't sound cool right now. And yes, I did have my share of Zima, and I did have my share of wine coolers and my share of beer, and I did go to my share of parties, but I wasn't going to let myself be in a position where I could get myself in trouble. And I don't think people are warned or they understand that. They think, oh, you know what? I'm good because I'm going with friends. I'm not going to be alone. If those friends get drunk, if those friends get tired, if there are people hunting you and waiting for you to be alone or go into a bathroom, you aren't safe. So be careful out there, people. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.